Okay, ladies and gentlemen, serious topic of today. Okay, I'm gonna fix that camera up a little bit. Okay, there we go. There we go. So, I was playing Xbox, as you can probably hear in the background of this video. And it just occurred to me. I put a photo on my Instagram. It was from April. I actually was in a Civil War reenactment back in April. And I was on the Confederate side. And to those of you to think that the South was the racist side, let me tell you something. Either you A, don't know how to read a history book, or B, you've never known the truth about the South and the Civil War. Let me tell you something. You see this flag in the background? Yeah, that's my flag, and I love it. If you don't like it, then unsubscribe. I'm sorry that you feel that way. I'm sorry if you feel that way. I don't care what your feelings are. It's my feelings. It's my heritage. There's no hate in it. I love every single one of you people on here, and that's facts. That's real facts. I love any skin color. Black, white, you name it. I love it. Not racist. None of this. I don't tend to be racist if that's what you think, but the truth's the truth. I was born in Memphis, aka the South, and I love it. I mean, I still go back there from time to time. I still live in the South. I live in Houston, Texas, which is basically Mexico, but that's not the point. I love every one of y'all here, whether it's on the channel, whether it's in person, anything. But this generation, let me take my hat off for this. This generation does not know about probably the greatest Civil War general in the history of the Civil War. Yeah, I'm talking about the statue, the man of the statues that y'all have been taken down, aka you liberals. I know some of you liberals. And I don't mind finding you and, excuse my language, kicking your ass. No internet troll, no keyboard warrior, coming to the truth. A southern man like me could probably kick your ass, and that's a deal. By the way, you Antifa members thought y'all were going to start a war. Where are y'all at? We don't see you. We don't see you on the streets. We thought you were going to bring weapons. You said you were going to bring guns. You said you were going to bring pipe bombs. Where are y'all at, though? Where are you at? You ain't on the street. You ain't doing nothing because you ain't, excuse my language again, you ain't shit. That's a fact. But how all this crap started was from calling Robert E. Lee racist. Now, knowing my history that I actually read, unlike some of y'all, one, General Lee was never a slave owner. In fact, General Ulysses S. Grant, better known as President Ulysses S. Grant, was a slave owner. Know why? Because one, I used to live in St. Louis. Two, his house is in St. Louis with the slave quarters. And three, I've seen his slave shack. And I can tell you something right now, it is not a pretty sight to see. It's not a pretty sight to see, but give them credit. Both of them were great generals. They were both good. Let me tell you that. But one fact is different than the other. Lee was not a slave owner. Grant was a slave owner. That's how people in the North were. Some of them were. But y'all kids from today's generation do not know who General Robert E. Lee is. And I'm going to give y'all a freaking history lesson today. That's why we're going to watch this video. And I hope you learn something from it. If you don't, then leave my channel. I won't miss you.
He was an American general who led the Confederate forces during America's deadliest and most brutal war. He was a top graduate of the United States Military Academy and an exceptional officer in the U.S. Army for 32 years. Here are a few facts you didn't know about Robert Edward Lee. He was born on January the 19th, 1807 in Virginia to Major General Henry Lee III, who was the governor of Virginia at the time, and to Anne Hill Carter.
Yep.
His extended family members included the
This is why great people are born in January. He was born in January. Elvis Presley was born in January. And third and final, yours truly was born in January.
President and signers of the Declaration of Independence. His father, Colonel Henry Lee, also known as Light Horse Harry, had served as a cavalry leader during the Revolutionary War and gone on to become one of the war's heroes, winning praise from General George Washington. Not much is known about his childhood, as he rarely spoke of it in his adulthood. His relationship with his father is also shrouded in mystery, as Henry left the family when Robert was 6, never to return. Despite their position in Virginia's ruling elite, the Lee family wasn't exactly wealthy. Without the money to attend a university, young Robert entered the United States Military Academy at West Point instead. There he quickly rose in the ranks and graduated second in the class of 1829. His financial position improved when he married
Second in his class at West Point. Huh. Why don't y'all try doing that, see what you can do?
Mary Ann Custis on June the 13th, 1831, at their parents' house, Arlington House. It was said that they were...
An interesting fact, the Arlington House was not only the house of General Robert E. Lee, it's also the gravesite of General Robert E. Lee. If you haven't been there, like me, I'm probably going to go. If y'all racist, anti-racist, don't take it down. Which you probably won't because it's a national monument. Do I really need to talk crap to y'all guys? Really? Y'all suck.
Very devoted to each other, but that they were very different in character. They had several children, 3 sons and 4 daughters. All of his sons fought with him for the South in the Civil War and survived. All of his children outlived him except for his daughter Annie, who died of typhoid fever in 1862. When the United States went to war with Mexico in 1846, Lee finally got the opportunity he had been waiting for his whole life. In the service of General Winfield Scott, he distinguished himself as a brilliant tactician.
Yeah, so basically, you kids probably don't know this either, but War of 1812, generals were in the General War of 1812, and plus the War of 1846 against Mexico. So some, like for instance, there was one of the generals of mine, of my great-great-great-grandfather, who fought at the Alamo and survived. And then the battle my grandfather fought at, he was shot and killed. Which is kind of strange, because that was the only... my English sucks today, but who cares? But that was the only major Confederate general in the Civil War that died, was at Shiloh, which is pretty crazy. And that was my grandfather's general. His name was Albert Sidney Johnston. If you don't know him, look that up too. Back to the video.
Engineer, Lee helped Scott find ways around Mexican strongpoints which weren't properly defended. For the very first time, Robert Edward Lee and Ulysses S. Grant met and worked together during the Mexican-American War.
We're buddies in the Mexican-American War. Just remember what I said. Slave owner, not a slave owner. You know the difference now.
He was the captain of the engineers, while Grant was a quartermaster at the time. Both of them were among the forces that entered Mexico City and concluded the war on February 2nd, 1848. In 1859, 3 slaves escaped his plantation: Wesley Norris, his sister Mary, and a cousin of theirs. The 3 were headed north but were captured and forced to return to Arlington. There were some rumors saying that he had the Norrises whipped, and then when his overseer refused to whip the woman, Lee took the whip and flogged her personally. However, this is highly unlikely, as Lee was in some sense opposed to slavery. In a letter to his wife, he wrote that slavery is a moral and political evil in any country.
Exactly.
He also helped his wife set up a school for slaves on his own plantation and freed all of his slaves in 1862.
And you call him racist. You call him racist. Oh, you guys are a freaking joke. Freaking joke.
In 1860, when Abraham Lincoln was elected president, 7 southern states...
Slave owner, Abraham Lincoln too. You didn't know that? Look in your history book.
formed a confederacy and seceded from the United States. The elected Republicans supported banning slavery, and the southern states viewed this as a violation of their constitutional rights.
Exactly.
Lee made fun of the Confederacy in the early 1861, saying that the secession was a revolution and the betrayal of the founding fathers of the United States. At first, Lee accepted the position of the commanding general of the Union Army, but when his home state, Virginia, seceded, he immediately resigned from the U.S. Army and took command of the Virginia State Forces. In a letter to presidential advisor Francis P. Blair, he said, "Mr. Blair, I look upon secession as anarchy. If I owned the 4 millions of slaves in the South, I would sacrifice them all to the Union. But how can I draw my sword upon Virginia, my native state?" While historians call his decision an answer he was born to make with his great ties with Virginia and family, research shows that this was a difficult decision that he made alone. His daughter Mary was the only one in his family who favored secession, and his wife especially favored the Union. Nonetheless, his family immediately followed him to the Confederacy. Upon the formation of the Confederate States Army, he was named one of its first 5 full generals.
Oh yeah.
Later, he would assume command of the Army of Northern Virginia and would push back the Union Army at the 7 Days Battles and once again at the Second Battle of Bull Run.
Time out. See that flag behind me? Flag of Northern Virginia. And you kids call that racist. You kids call that racist. You are a damn joke if you call that racist. That was the flag of Virginia, ladies and gentlemen. That was the flag of Robert E. Lee. In fact, before that was the flag of Northern Virginia, it was also known as the Southern Cross of Tennessee. Southern Cross of Tennessee, which is basically on my wallet too. I support it. If you don't like it, again, you can leave. I don't care about you.
In only 90 days of assuming command, he ended the Union Peninsula campaign and defended John Pope at Second Manassas. Instead of a quick end to the war which the Peninsula campaign promised, the war would go on for 3 more years and claim 500,000 lives.
Yep.
After a few more decisive victories against the Union, most notably at the Battle of Chancellorsville, Lee decided to invade Pennsylvania, but the Union Army cut him off from the south and he had to fight his way out at Gettysburg. He encountered Union forces on...
And if you don't know what Gettysburg is, it's probably one of the most bloodiest battles fought in the Civil War history. July 1st to the 3rd, 1863. A lot of lives were lost. And in fact, if you go to Gettysburg, which I'm probably going to be going next year, supposedly, it's probably one of the most haunted battlefields in the United States of America. And plus, they have ghost tours at night, which I might do. And if y'all don't believe in ghosts, you might need to go look up some Gettysburg ghost videos, because let me tell you something. It's not only scary to look at, but it's actually pretty interesting and cool to look at, and just to say, hey, we think it's just a cloud or a mist, but no, it's actually a ghost walking across the field where his roots were doing in July 1st and 3rd of 1863. But no, you kids today are like, oh, I don't like the Civil War, it's racist. You kids are just retarded. You just need to keep watching this video.
George G. Meade at the 3-day Battle of Gettysburg. This battle would produce the largest number of casualties in the American Civil War. The first 2 days of fighting solidified the Union position, and on the 3rd day Lee launched a massive frontal assault on the center of the Union line. That assault is known as Pickett's Charge, after George Pickett, one of 3 Confederate generals who led the assault.
Pickett's Charge, probably one of the most famous charges in Civil War history. If you don't know that, look it up. Again, George Pickett finished last in his class at West Point. Still probably one of the greatest generals in the Civil War, but not like Robert E. Lee, okay? He's known for that. He's known for that charge. I'd look it up if I were you.
The charge, however, resulted in heavy Confederate losses and Lee was forced to retreat.
Yeah.
This battle marked the turning point of the war as the Confederate Army never fully recovered. In 1864, the new Union General-in-Chief Ulysses S. Grant besieged Lee's remaining forces in the siege of Petersburg. As the Confederate Army was devastated by attrition, the Union attack on Petersburg succeeded on the 2nd of April 1865, and Lee then made an attempt to join his forces with another Confederate army, but was caught and surrounded by Ulysses S. Grant. At the Battle of Appomattox Courthouse, he surrendered his forces and the war ended. After the war, he was pardoned by President Lincoln, but he did lose the right to vote as well as some property. He supported President Johnson's plan of Reconstruction, as well as supporting civil rights for all and a system of free public schools for blacks. He accepted an offer to serve as the president of Washington College, now Washington and Lee University, in Lexington, Virginia, and served from October 1865 until his death. While at the Washington College, Lee told a colleague of his that the biggest mistake of his life was taking a military education. He died on October the 12th, 1870, after 2 weeks of illness. He was buried underneath Lee Chapel at Washington and Lee University, where his body and family remain. What do you think about our pick? Did we say something wrong? For more videos like this, subscribe to Photon Feast and or leave a comment below saying what you would like to see next. Until next time, goodbye.
Yeah. So, I hope you guys learned something, despite me pausing every minute or two. You kids these days seem to think, oh, we didn't learn any of this in school because our teachers thought it was racist. No. You see, your teachers were paid to be, excuse my freaking language one more time, but your teachers would be paid to be pussies and to not teach you about the real facts. Your teachers were paid to tell you lies. And when they told you lies, they said, oh, not only General Grant was a slave owner, but General Lee was also a slave owner. When General Lee was actually not a slave owner, when he supported the slaves and made a teaching unit at his own home quarters and freed the slaves. You kids are just... But that is going to do it for this video. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm probably going to get a lot of dislikes from this because you're going to call me racist. You're going to call me a fake ass son of a bitch. But you know what? I'm telling you the truth. And if you can't handle the truth, there's the door over there. The door is right over there. And if you want to leave, you can get the hell out of my freaking life. Get the hell out of my channel. Don't ever watch my videos again. And I hope y'all have a good day.